Monica Harris thought her 25th wedding anniversary would be a night of love and gratitude. But instead, it became the night her entire world shattered. Beneath the glow of Atlanta's city lights, a husband's betrayal, a mother-in-law's deceit, and a mistress's ambition collided in a scandal that would leave everyone speechless. On our silver wedding anniversary, my husband decided to give me divorce papers instead of a gift. He made the announcement in front of all of our guests, declaring that 25 years was more than enough. He said he wanted someone younger now, and that I needed to be out of the condo by the next day. He seemed to have conveniently forgotten that my parents were the ones who gifted me that condo in the first place. His mother, Loretta Harris, just sat there silently with a smirk on her face. I stood up, grabbed the microphone, and said something that left him utterly speechless. That night, Monica Harris was awakened by hushed whispers coming from behind their bedroom door. Her husband, Marcus Harris, was on the phone with his mother again at 3 in the morning. His voice sounded strangely excited. Naomi lay still in the darkness, trying to make out snippets of their conversation. "We have to do this right," Darren's voice insisted. "She won't suspect a thing." "Of course not, son," his mother replied. Naomi's muscles tensed. What exactly were they plotting in secret? And why now, just a few weeks before their milestone anniversary? The hardwood floor gave a slight creak as Darren returned to the bedroom. Naomi quickly closed her eyes, pretending to be sound asleep. He slipped into bed very carefully, but she could feel that his body was stiff and restless. The next morning, everything felt off and strange. Darren was being unnaturally affectionate. "Naomi, my love," he said as he kissed her cheek. He smelled strongly of an expensive cologne. "How about we pick out the restaurant for our anniversary today? I want everything to be absolutely perfect." "Perfect?" Naomi raised an eyebrow in surprise. In their 25 years of marriage, Darren had never been so enthusiastic or proactive about any family celebration. She always organized everything, and he usually only found fault with it. "Fine," she replied cautiously, as she watched him rush off to work. He left his cell phone lying on the nightstand. The screen lit up with a notification. Naomi couldn't help but take a quick peek. It was a calendar reminder that read, "Call us at 11 a.m." Later, she asked him casually as she was watering the plants on the windowsill, "Who's the S you have listed in your contacts?" Darren spun around abruptly. For a split second, Naomi saw a flash of panic in his eyes, but he quickly regained his composure. Sanchez, a colleague from Seattle. I'm just consulting him on a work issue." It was a blatant lie. Naomi knew her husband like the back of her hand. When he lied, his left eye always twitched, just as it was doing at that very moment. "I see," she replied with a forced smile. But deep down inside, her chest felt tight and constricted. Once he had left, Naomi stood by the window, gazing out at the gray October sky over Atlanta. 25 years, a quarter of a century, and they had met in college. She had been a brilliant accounting student, and he was an up-and-coming manager. They got married for love, dreaming of having children and a large family. But children never came. Doctors could find nothing wrong, but the miracle just never happened. Darren took it hard, especially when his mother, Celeste, started making those passive-aggressive comments about grandchildren. Over time, they accepted that they would be childless and focused on the positives instead. More time for themselves, for travel, and for career advancement. But something essential and vital had shifted between them. A knock at the door pulled her from her thoughts. Standing there was Loretta Harris, her mother-in-law, wearing her usual frigid smile. "Naomi, dear," she said as she entered the condo without even waiting for an invitation. "How are you? Are you busy preparing for the party?" Celeste always treated Naomi with exaggerated courtesy, but she maintained a very large distance. In 25 years of marriage, she had never once called Naomi her daughter. "Slowly but surely," Naomi replied, as she led her into the living room. "Darren wants us to celebrate at a restaurant." "Very good," Celeste responded brightly. "A respectable venue with invited guests. Having everything at home just doesn't convey how important the date really is. She started looking around the living room as if she was evaluating it. Naomi knew that look all too well. It always made her feel, without a single word being spoken, that Celeste's suburban mansion was so much larger and better decorated. "By the way, Naomi dear," Celeste said as she settled into an armchair, "I've been thinking about the future. Darren isn't getting any younger. He's 53 and well, we don't have any grandchildren. Don't you think it would be a good idea to write a will for the grandkids just in case?" Naomi felt a sudden chill. "What grandchildren?" Celeste tilted her head. "We don't have any children." "Well, for my nephews," she said dismissively, waving her hand in the air. "I have 2 nephews, they're good boys, studying and working hard. If we don't, the government will just take everything." Naomi slowly placed her teacup back on the table. "And where do you keep the condo papers?" Celeste suddenly asked, as if it were just a casual afterthought. "I'm just thinking about the boys' future." The nephews, the young people. That was it. Naomi understood the real subtext. "They're in the safe," she replied dryly. "But why do you ask?" "Oh, just in case. You never know what might happen. It's always good to know where things are." When Celeste finally left, Naomi sat in silence, trying to piece everything together. The late-night phone call, Darren's strange burst of affection, and now Celeste's very pointed questions about the house title. Bit by bit, the puzzle was starting to form, and she definitely did not like the picture that it was painting. She decided to check Darren's computer. He had never changed his password before. He always used something simple, usually the date they met, but it didn't work this time. Her heart started to race. In 25 years, he had never kept secrets from her. She tried his birthday but nothing. She tried his mother's birthday but nope. Then it occurred to her to try their wedding date, but in reverse order. It worked. The browser history opened up, and what she saw gave her a knot in her stomach. How to divorce when shared assets exist. Spousal rights in property division. Legal advice for separation. He had been searching all of this over the past couple of weeks. With trembling fingers, she scrolled page after page. How to keep the condo in a divorce. Legal tricks for dividing assets. Suddenly, her phone began to ring. It was her friend Candace. "Naomi, you are never going to believe what I just saw. You're Darren. I saw him at a jeweler's in Tyson's Galleria with a young woman. They were looking at rings. She was clinging to him, hugging him like there was no tomorrow." "What did she look like?" Naomi interrupted softly. "Oh, she was about 30, blonde, very put together, wearing a super expensive coat, pretty, but she looked kind of superficial. And they were being so openly affectionate." "Are you okay, Naomi?"
"Yes," Naomi lied.
"Everything's fine." But the truth was, nothing was fine. That evening, Darren returned home carrying a bouquet of roses and a box of fancy chocolates. "For my one and only true love," he said confidently as he kissed her on the lips. One and only. How ironic, Naomi thought to herself. She looked him straight in the eye and said, "We need to have a serious talk about our future." Darren tensed up. It was a very subtle movement, but she definitely noticed it. "Talk about what?" he asked as he turned on the TV, pretending to be completely absorbed in the programming. "Everything's fine, right? The anniversary is in just 1 week. All of our friends will be there. Let's not spoil the mood with any serious topics. We can talk about it after the party." Okay, after the party. That meant that something big was definitely planned for the party itself. Naomi nodded, feigning acceptance, but she felt an icy coldness creeping within her. After 25 years, she knew her husband well. He was planning something calmly and coldly, and it definitely involved his mother and surely a lawyer. What Darren didn't know was that Naomi had an ace up her sleeve, something that could completely unravel all of his plans. And for now, she wasn't going to tell him a single thing. The next day, Naomi woke up with a knot in her stomach, as if a terrible tragedy had struck the day before, and she was only just now learning to live with it. Darren left early without eating breakfast. "I have a meeting," he said. "A meeting?" Naomi thought bitterly to herself. She knew exactly who that meeting was with. At 11 o'clock in the morning, the home phone rang. Darren had forgotten his cell phone, leaving it face down in the kitchen. Naomi didn't answer the phone, but the answering machine recorded the message. "Dee, it's Mom. I spoke to Mr. Hayes. Everything can be arranged. The important thing is that she doesn't suspect a thing until the very last moment. Call me when you're free." Hayes, the supposed Seattle colleague. Now it all made perfect sense. Naomi felt the ground give way beneath her. 25 years, a quarter of a century beside a man who was now planning her betrayal. Just like some office paperwork. She approached Darren's phone. It required a 6-digit code to unlock it. She tried the date they met, September 1st, 1999. No. She tried Celeste's birthday. Nothing. Then she remembered the blonde woman from the jewelers. Her intuition told her to try March 8th, International Women's Day. It worked. The lover's birthday. The text confirmed everything. "Tasha, my love, just a little more patience. After the anniversary, everything will be resolved. The condo will be ours. Dee, you said we'd be living together by New Year's. I'm tired of having to hide. My love. Everything is going exactly according to plan. Mom has already taken care of things. Naomi suspects absolutely nothing. Hayes says that if we play this right, she'll only get half. And I'll get to keep the condo." Naomi slumped down into a chair, her hands shaking uncontrollably. They were planning her life as if she were just a piece of second-hand property. Darren, his mother, the lawyer Hayes, and the mistress Tasha, all tangled up in a trap where she was the intended prey. And the worst was yet to come. "Hey Mom, are you absolutely sure that the condo title is in both of our names? Maybe we got lucky and it's just in my name?" "Son, I saw the copies when you originally bought it. Both names are on it. But Hayes says there are ways around it. The important thing is that she signs the waiver. And if she won't sign it willingly, she will sign it. After what we're planning to do to her at the party, she won't have any other option." What exactly did they plan to do to her? Naomi felt a wave of anxiety rising in her throat. They were going to publicly humiliate her in front of everyone. Accuse her of something terrible. Without wasting any time, she copied all of the important messages onto her own phone, and carefully put Darren's phone back exactly where she had found it. She needed to come up with a plan and she needed help. She decided to call Danielle Brooks Cole, her college friend who was now a family attorney. They didn't talk very often, but their friendship remained strong. "Naomi," Danielle Brooks said when she answered the phone. "Long time no talk. How are you? Can we possibly meet up sometime today?" Naomi asked, trying her best to sound calm and collected. "I really need a consultation." "Sure, I'm free around 6 o'clock. Come on down to the office and we can talk." Danielle Brooks's office was located downtown in a modern high-rise building. She greeted Naomi with a warm hug, but immediately noticed the underlying tension. "Sit down and tell me everything. What's going on?" Naomi took a very deep breath. "Let's just say that an acquaintance of mine is having some trouble with her husband. He wants a divorce, but he's keeping it a secret, and it seems like he's setting a trap." Danielle Brooks looked at her intently. "Are you absolutely sure that this is just a hypothetical acquaintance, Naomi?" Naomi remained silent for a few seconds and then proceeded to tell her everything. The late-night phone calls, the phone messages from Tasha, her mother-in-law's scheming, everything. Danielle Brooks listened carefully, occasionally asking for clarification. "I understand," she said finally. "This is definitely serious, but all is not lost. The good news is that you reacted in time. Tell me about the house. When did you buy it? Whose name is on the title?" "We put both names on it back in 2005. Equal shares. Am I formally employed?" "Yes. I'm the controller at Alliance Development Group. I've been there for 15 years and the weekend cabin is also in both of our names, but it's really not worth all that much. The condo is by far our main asset." Danielle Brooks jotted down a few notes. "Naomi, they really can't do anything to you if you keep a clear head about this. In a divorce, everyone receives what is legally theirs. No one can force you to waive your share. But it's clear that they are planning something dirty here. They want to put you in a weak emotional position, some kind of scandal or accusation, something to break you. You need to be fully prepared. How do I prepare? Gather as much evidence as you possibly can. Take photos of the messages, record conversations if you can. Move some of the money into an account that is solely in your name. But most importantly, don't ever let them know that you know exactly what they're doing. Naomi nodded slowly. For the first time in days, she felt something that was very close to relief. She finally had a plan and she had support. Thanks, Danielle Brooks. How much do I owe you? Danielle Brooks smiled warmly. Nothing, girl. Friends don't charge. Just keep me in the loop. And always remember, no matter what happens, you are not alone or defenseless. Naomi returned home determined to act. But what she found upon her arrival only confirmed that the war had already begun. Darren was standing by the entrance, checking himself in the mirror. Wow, you look kind of run down today, huh? He blurted out without even looking directly at her. Forgive me, but yes, Naomi, you've let yourself go a bit lately. Look, turning 50 isn't exactly the end of the world, but you need to take better care of yourself. Go to the gym, see a dermatologist, get something done. I saw Candace's daughter today. She's only 30 but looks like she's 25, very polished. And you? Well, you understand. He was very clearly comparing her to younger women, setting the stage for a justification of his betrayal. I have a meeting tomorrow, he announced suddenly. It's Saturday, but it will take up the entire day. Another date with Tasha. That's fine, Naomi replied calmly. And on Sunday I'm going to go with Mom. I'm going to help her set up her new smart TV. Spending time with the Traders family. That night, while Darren was taking a shower, Naomi reviewed their joint bank account online. In the last month alone, $30,000 have been withdrawn in several different transactions. Gifts for Tasha, payments to the lawyer, and who knows what else. All of it was with their shared money. Naomi let out a nervous, brittle laugh. They were actually using her own money to plan her downfall. But she had an ace up her sleeve, something that they knew absolutely nothing about. Just a week prior, a letter had arrived from a notary. Her Aunt Dolores, her father's older sister, had recently passed away in Germany. She had no children or spouse, so she had left her entire estate to Naomi, her only niece. This included a condo in New Orleans that was valued at the equivalent of $800,000, a bank account with the equivalent of $570,000, and another luxury investment condo located in Miami Gardens, Florida. The total value was over $3 million. Naomi hadn't told a single soul about this. She had originally wanted to surprise Darren on their anniversary, but now that money and property were her only salvation. She opened up her laptop and started researching how to register the inheritance, transfer the funds to her personal account, and legally protect herself from all of the people who saw her as a fool. Darren thought he was holding all of the cards, but the game was really only just beginning. On Monday morning, Naomi woke up with a very clear plan in mind. First, she visited a notary, but definitely not the one who was currently handling her aunt's case. She went to see an old acquaintance, Mr. Jefferson, the real estate lawyer who had helped them purchase their condo years ago. Monica Harris, how many years has it been? And how is Marcus Harris doing? Mr. Jefferson, an older gentleman, greeted her with a warm smile. Mr. Jefferson, I need your help, she said as she entered his office. But it absolutely has to be kept strictly confidential. The lawyer's face immediately grew serious. Sit down. I'm listening very carefully. Do you remember our condo on M Street in Atlanta? You handled all the title work back in 2005. Of course. A very good unit in a fine building. Do you recall who purchased it first? I mean, where did the money originally come from? Mr. Jefferson frowned slightly, opened up an old file, and searched through it for a moment. Here it is. It was actually a somewhat unusual case. The money came directly from your parents' account, and in the deed of gift, You are listed as the sole recipient. Darren was only added a couple of months later, as your husband. Naomi felt a surge of warmth in her chest. So it's formally considered a premarital asset? Formally, yes. Your parents gifted it to you before Darren's name even appeared on any of the documents. In the event of a divorce, that can make all the difference. He could only really claim something if he could prove that he invested in any major renovations. Naomi smiled faintly. Darren had never spent a single dime on that condo. She had done everything herself. Could you possibly give me a confirming document? Of course. Come back tomorrow afternoon, and it will be ready for you. As she left the office, Naomi felt different. After so many days, she finally felt strong and protected. But what awaited her at home left her almost breathless. A courier delivered a thick envelope from Germany. The final papers for Aunt Dolores's inheritance. Naomi read through the lines with the help of a summary. A condo in New Orleans valued at $800,000, a bank account with $570,000, and the luxury investment condo in Miami Gardens. More than $3 million in total. She sat down in the living room. She was now a wealthy, independent, and free woman. But Darren shouldn't know. Not just yet. Her phone rang suddenly. It was Darren, and his voice was overly cheerful. Naomi, my love, I was thinking, what if we really celebrate our anniversary in style? Colleagues, friends, everyone. Why such a big deal, Dee? Why? It's 25 years, a silver anniversary. I want everyone to see what a perfect family we have. I already reserved the ballroom at the Grand Magnolia Hotel for 100 people. 100 people for her public humiliation. Isn't that awfully expensive, Darren? We're supposed to be saving. Don't worry about it, he interrupted. The money is there. The important thing is the impression that we're making. We'll invite my boss and yours. Everyone needs to see just how happy we are. What a cynical lie. Fine, Naomi said calmly. Whatever you say. Perfect. I have a meeting with some partners now. We'll talk about it tonight. Partners. Naomi knew exactly what that really meant. In the afternoon, Loretta Harris arrived with a gift. Naomi, dear, she said in a very sugary voice, handing her an envelope. This is from me to you. It was a consultation with an excellent family lawyer. Just in case, you know. You never know. Naomi opened up the envelope and pulled out a business card. Hayes & Associates Divorce and Property Law. With a little note attached. Free consultation anytime. The audacity. They were actually giving her a consultation with the very same lawyer who was planning her betrayal. Thank you, Naomi said dryly. That's very thoughtful. I worry about you, daughter. Daughter. For the very first time in 25 years, her mother-in-law had called her that, right before she was about to stab her in the back. After Celeste left, Naomi started to clean up a bit. In one of Darren's jackets, she found a crumpled card. Mr. Hayes, Family Law, Divorce, Asset Division, Alimony. The same lawyer, the same plan. Darren came home late that night, cheerful and smelling strongly of expensive perfume. He gave Naomi a hug. Everything is ready. Restaurant menu, guests. It's going to be unforgettable. Naomi looked at him coldly. He was absolutely right. It was going to be unforgettable, just not in the way that he imagined. Dee, what kind of cologne are you wearing? That's not yours. He hesitated. I got on the elevator with the neighbor today. She wears a very strong perfume, and it just clung to my jacket. One lie after another. By the way, he said as he walked over to the window. At the anniversary party, I'm going to give a special speech about our life and our future plans. What plans? Oh, you'll see. It's a surprise. A surprise. Naomi felt a sudden chill. She couldn't sleep that night. Around 2 o'clock in the morning, she heard a murmur. Darren was on the phone out in the hallway. She got up very quietly and pressed her ear against the bedroom door. Mom, everything is perfect. The restaurant has been booked, and the guests are all confirmed. After the toast, it will all just happen. Are you sure that she doesn't suspect a thing? How would she suspect anything? She's as naive as a little child. She's always trusted me implicitly, and she still does. And if she doesn't want to sign the papers willingly, she will sign them. After what I tell her in front of everyone, she won't have any other option. Everyone will finally see what she's really like, you know? Dee, don't you think it would be better to do this privately at home, without making such a huge scene? No, Mom. It has to be in front of everyone. That way, she won't be able to make a scene or demand any explanations. She'll just go straight home, and Hayes will be waiting for her there with the papers. Quick, clean, and with absolutely no drama. And Tasha already knows about everything. In fact, she's even coming to the anniversary party. I want her to finally meet my colleagues. I'm going to introduce her as my new assistant. You're being cruel. It's not cruelty, Mom. It's just being practical. 25 years was more than enough. I deserve to be happy too, even if it's at her expense. Naomi went back to bed, but she still couldn't fall asleep. So Tasha was going to be at the party too. She was going to witness the humiliation of her rival, and then take her place in her home. That's what they thought anyway. In the morning, Naomi went to the bank. She opened up a personal account and transferred half of the money from the joint savings account. If Darren wanted to continue spending money on his mistress, he would have to do it with his half. Then she went to the lawyer to pick up the document confirming that the condo was hers from before the marriage. Next she went to work. Mr. Washington, she said to her boss as she entered his office, can I have a quick word with you? Of course, Monica Harris, is everything all right? Everything is fine for now. I just wanted to give you a heads up that I will soon be entering a somewhat difficult personal phase. Divorce? He asked, frowning slightly. Seriously? I thought that you two were rock solid. You even invited me to your anniversary party. That's exactly why I wanted to give you this warning. If things happen to go wrong, I hope that I can count on your support. My work won't be affected, I assure you. Naomi, you are the best controller that we've had in 15 years. Whatever happens, your job is definitely safe. That night, while Darren was at yet another meeting, Naomi took out the inheritance documents. She needed to come up with a clear and well-thought-out plan. The Miami Gardens condo was currently empty. Aunt Dolores had been renting it out, but the contract had ended just a month prior. Naomi could easily move there right after the divorce. With the money in the German bank, she would have financial independence for many years to come. And most importantly, she had the document proving that the DC condo had been hers from before the marriage. Darren would never even see that coming. Naomi put all of the papers safely in the safe and smiled. Thursday morning, she went to the German consulate. She needed to formalize the inheritance in order to access Aunt Dolores's accounts. The consul, an older gentleman with a neatly trimmed beard, reviewed the documents very carefully. Everything is in order, Mrs. Sterling. Your aunt was a very prudent woman. The bank accounts will be unlocked in exactly 1 week. And regarding the Miami Gardens condo, ownership passes directly to your name immediately. Here are the papers. You can dispose of it in any way that you wish. Naomi carefully put all of the documents into her bag. She now owned 3 properties, over $1 million in cash, and most valuable of all, complete freedom. That very same day, she opened up another account in euros in order to prepare for the international transfer. The bank advisor, a young woman, looked at the numbers in the papers with wide eyes. Wow, you certainly did very well with the inheritance, didn't you? Yes, Naomi smiled. My aunt was a truly incredible woman. As she was leaving the bank, she felt a huge weight lift off her shoulders. For the first time in many years, she felt truly free and completely independent. She no longer cared about whatever Darren was planning. That was no longer her problem. But the surprise that was waiting for her just outside the Grand Magnolia Hotel was like a sharp blow to the stomach. She had gone to check on the anniversary party arrangements, and right by the entrance, a young blonde woman in an expensive coat was talking on the phone. Dee, my love, this is absolutely incredible, Tasha was saying in a sickly sweet voice. The ballroom was enormous. The decor was absolutely stunning. You promised we would be living in a sprawling condo soon, and I can already picture throwing parties there. It was Tasha, her husband's mistress, standing just a few feet away, excitedly talking about the life she was planning to have with him. Naomi froze just watching her. There was no denying she was attractive, around 30 years old, with a great figure, perfectly styled hair, and immaculate nails, but her eyes were vacant, cold, and calculating. Of course, I understand tomorrow will be difficult, Tasha continued blithely. But you said after your speech she'd understand everything, and I'll be there as your new assistant. Romantic, right? Romantic? Publicly humiliating your wife is romantic? Naomi moved closer. Excuse me, do you know where the manager is? Tasha turned and gave Naomi a disdainful once-over. No idea, she said with a chilly tone. I don't work here. She went back to her phone. Hey, there's some lady asking me questions here. Okay, see you tonight. I love you. Some lady. Naomi thought with a small private smile. Tomorrow this lady was going to deliver quite the surprise. The restaurant manager, a kind, pleasantly plump woman, greeted Naomi warmly. You're here about tomorrow's anniversary. Mr. Price already took care of everything. Ballroom for 100 people, banquet, live music. And how much did all that cost? Your husband requested the very best of everything. $45,000 to humiliate her in front of everyone. Naomi nodded, saying simply, I see. Can I take a look at the ballroom? Of course. The room was indeed luxurious. Soaring ceilings, sparkling crystal chandeliers, pristine white tablecloths, and huge mirrors lining the walls. All the guests would have a perfect view of the spectacle. Where will the microphone be for the toasts? Naomi asked. Right here in the center, the manager replied. Mr. Price insisted that everyone be able to hear him. Of course, so no one would miss the humiliation. When Naomi got home, Darren was waiting, looking nervous, pacing around with a piece of paper in his hand. Ah, Naomi, he said, quickly hiding the paper. Where were you? At the restaurant, just checking everything. What did you think of it? Impressive. $45,000 for one night. Seriously, Dee, don't you think that's a little excessive? We have other plans, remember? Don't worry about it, he scoffed. The money's there. The important thing is to make a good impression on the guests, or on the mistress. That night, Loretta Harris arrived, practically bursting with excitement. Darren, honey, are you ready? Did you rehearse your speech? Of course, Mom. Everything will be perfect. Don't worry. She patted his shoulder reassuringly. Your speech will be a success. Everyone will see that you made the right decision. The right decision. Naomi watched them from the kitchen, her rage slowly building. Mom, what if she makes a scene? Darren asked. She won't, Celeste replied confidently. With so many people there, she'll keep it together. She's a well-educated woman. They'll handle things privately at home. And Hayes, is he ready? Yes, the papers are all set. All she has to do is sign. After your speech, she won't have any choice. Naomi quietly slipped into the bedroom and took her own papers from the drawer. She had everything prepared. She put all the documents into a small folder. The deed proving the condo was hers before the marriage, the inheritance documents, and the statement for her new bank account. Tomorrow those documents would change everything. Later that night, after Celeste had left, Darren locked himself in his study. Naomi could hear him rehearsing his speech, mumbling to himself. She crept up to the door and listened intently. Dear friends, today is a special day. 25 years ago, I made a decision that seemed right. But life moves on, people change, and sometimes you have to have the courage to admit your mistakes. Mistakes. 25 years of marriage was his mistake. I thank Naomi for these years, but honesty demands I speak the truth. We are different people with different values, with different plans for the future, and I have made a decision. The rest was muffled, but the meaning was crystal clear. Naomi went back to the bedroom. She had absolutely no desire to sleep. In the morning, Darren woke up in a remarkably good mood. Naomi, he said, adjusting his tie in front of the mirror. Today is a great day. Yes, our anniversary. Not just that, he said, smiling strangely. Tomorrow your life is going to change. And so is mine. Completely. Completely. You'll see. You're going to be surprised. Surprised? Dee, can I ask you a question? Sure. What is it? Did you ever really love me? Truly? He froze, tie still in his hand. What a weird question. Why are you asking that on such an important day? Just curious. Of course I loved you, he said, avoiding her gaze. And I still love you. In my own way. In his own way, like someone who cares for an old piece of furniture that has served its purpose. I understand, Naomi said quietly. All day Darren was frantic, calling the restaurant, double-checking the guest list, giving orders. By evening he was visibly anxious. Are you ready, Naomi? She stood before the mirror in a new elegant dark blue dress, bought specifically for this day. Ready? Then let's go. It's time for the truth to be known. The truth. Naomi grabbed her purse, where the documents rested. Yes, it's time for everyone to know the truth. They didn't speak during the drive. Darren was a bundle of nerves, drumming his fingers on the steering wheel. Naomi watched the city lights flash by through the window. 25 years ago, they had also ridden in silence to the courthouse. But that silence had been filled with excitement and love. Today it was the silence before a battle. Naomi, Darren said as they pulled up to the hotel, no matter what happens today, I want you to know that I wish you the best. The best? What a cruel joke. Thank you, Dee, she replied with a serene smile. And I wish you receive exactly what you deserve. The ballroom at the Grand Magnolia Hotel sparkled. 100 guests were seated at round tables decorated with white roses and gold candles. At the head table sat the hosts. Naomi smiled and accepted congratulations, but inside she was tense. The blow was coming any minute. Naomi, you look stunning today, said Marina, a coworker. 25 years together. How romantic. Yes, Naomi said, looking around. Very. Unexpected. All of it. In one corner of the room stood Tasha, Darren's mistress. She had been introduced as his new marketing assistant. Young, pretty, in a very expensive dress. She chatted calmly with some colleagues as if nothing were amiss. Marcus Harris, congratulations on your anniversary, said Mr. Michael Budrow, the CEO of Darren's company. Rarely does one see such solid couples. Thank you, Mr. Washington, Darren replied, shaking his hand. Today is a special day. I even prepared a very special speech. A speech? Naomi's throat went dry. Loretta Harris went from table to table, basking in compliments about her wonderful son and the ideal wife he had. Her eyes glowed with satisfaction. She knew what was about to happen. At a small table in the back, a man in his 50s in a dark suit sat looking very serious. Naomi didn't know him personally, but she recognized his picture. Mr. Hayes, the lawyer. He was there in case a signature was needed. Dear guests. The voice of the master of ceremonies boomed over the microphone. May I have your attention? Darren would like to say a few words in honor of his wife. A hush fell over the room. Everyone turned toward the main table. Darren stood up, took the microphone, and smiled broadly. Friends, thank you for being here on this important day. 25 years is no small thing. It's a quarter of a century alongside one person. The guests nodded, raising their glasses. I've thought a lot about our life together, Darren continued. About what united us, what made us happy, and what didn't so much. Naomi tensed. It's starting, she thought. And I realized something very important. People change. What seems right when you're young can eventually turn out to be a mistake. The ballroom grew even quieter. People exchanged confused glances. 25 years ago, I chose the woman who would be my life partner, guided by youthful emotions. But life taught me to see things more clearly. Darren, Naomi murmured. What are you talking about? The truth, dear. It's time to stop lying to ourselves. He turned to the guests, his voice harder, firmer. Dear friends, I want to be honest with you and with myself. For 25 years, I endured a life with a woman who is not right for me. A gray, boring woman who doesn't know how to be the partner of a successful man. The ballroom erupted in surprised murmurs. Darren, are you crazy? Someone yelled. Quite the opposite, he said calmly. I'm finally thinking clearly. Naomi needs to understand this. Our marriage is over. I'm filing for divorce. The room was stunned. Some gasped. Others held their hands to their chests. His mother, Celeste, smiled triumphantly. Furthermore, Darren continued, feeling emboldened, I want a fair division of assets. Naomi must leave the condo. It's time for a new life, new relationships. He looked pointedly at Tasha, the blonde who stood in the back, barely concealing a victorious smirk. Is this a joke? A woman asked, bewildered. Are you in your right mind, Darren? His boss demanded. More than ever, he replied coldly. I have the right to be happy, and I'm going to exercise it. Naomi will receive what the law dictates, and we will separate on good terms. And that young girl is your new conquest? One of Naomi's friends shouted, pointing at Tasha. Tasha is a wonderful woman. She understands what I need, Darren said openly. Unlike other people. That was enough. Naomi slowly stood up and gently took the microphone from her stunned husband. Thank you, Darren, she said in a quiet, almost sweet voice. Very honest. The room fell silent. Everyone expected tears, a dramatic outburst, or for her to run out of the room. You know, dear friends, Naomi continued, Darren is right about one thing. Enough of the lies, and I want to speak the truth too. Darren frowned. This was not in his script. The truth is, I knew about this whole charade for 3 weeks. I knew about Tasha, about the lawyer Hayes, who's right over there in the corner, and about your plans to make me waive my rights to the condo. Mr. Hayes turned pale and tried to slip out unnoticed, but annoyed guests blocked his path. Naomi, what are you talking about? Darren tried to interrupt. That your plan fell apart, darling. You see, she said, pulling a folder from her purse. You made a tiny mistake. Our condo is not a shared asset. It was a gift from my parents in my name before the marriage. I have the document from the real estate lawyer. Darren took a step back. That can't be. And what's more, Naomi continued, 3 weeks ago, I received an inheritance from my Aunt Dolores in Germany. A condo in New Orleans, another luxury condo in Miami Gardens, and over $1 million in cash. The silence in the room was absolute. So Dee, what property division are you talking about? You'll get half of the cabin and half of your car. Everything else is mine. Tasha against the wall turned paper white. And now for the fun part, Naomi said with a smile. Do you know how much your successful man spent on this little play to publicly humiliate his wife? $45,000 of our joint savings. The guests began to murmur in outrage. But I'm not spiteful, Naomi continued. Darren, you are free. Take your wonderful woman, as you called her, and live wherever you like, just not in my condo. Wait, Darren whispered. We can talk about this. There's nothing to talk about. I'm filing for divorce tomorrow. Hayes can leave. I don't need him anymore. She then turned to the guests. Dear friends, I apologize for ruining your evening, but sometimes the truth is more important than appearances. Thank you for coming. Now you know who is who. Naomi placed the microphone on the table and walked toward the exit. Behind her, a scandal erupted. Darren, you are a complete scoundrel, a woman yelled. How could you do that to your wife? 25 years and you pull this? Tasha tried to leave discreetly, but a furious group of guests blocked her path. And what about you, homewrecker? Did you think stealing another woman's husband would be easy? Have you no shame? Loretta Harris went from table to table trying to explain, but no one was listening. Meanwhile, Naomi walked out of the restaurant and breathed in the cool night air. Freedom. She paused at the door and looked back at the chaos inside. Through the large windows, she could see the house of cards Darren had been building for months collapsing. He was in the middle of the ballroom, pale, confused, like an actor who had forgotten his lines. The microphone lay on the floor. Guests yelling around him. Mr. Michael Budrow, the CEO, approached him. "Marcus Harris, I am deeply disappointed in you after this show. I think we will have to review your position in the company." "But Mr. Washington, you don't understand," Darren stammered. "It's not what it looks like. Naomi twisted everything." "Twisted?" interjected Marina, one of Naomi's co-workers. "We all heard what you said. 25 years enduring a colorless woman. Aren't you ashamed?" In another corner, a different scene was unfolding. Tasha, finally realizing her dream of living in a luxury condo was over, pushed her way through the angry guests. She grabbed Darren's sleeve. "What's going on? You promised me a condo. Where's the money you gave me for our new life?" "Shua," Darren whispered, nervously looking around. "Not here." "Why not here?" Tasha yelled, growing hysterical. "I've been waiting for 3 months. You said we'd live like kings after the divorce, and now what?" Guests turned curious, some already recording on their cell phones. "Stop it," Darren pleaded. "We'll talk later." But Tasha let out a bitter, almost hysterical laugh. "Talk about what? You don't have a condo or money. You fooled me." She turned to the guests. "Do you want to know the truth? This successful man promised me riches for 3 months. He bought me jewelry with his wife's money. He promised me a huge downtown condo." "Tasha, shut up," Darren screamed in desperation, but it was too late. "And he also took out loans using their shared assets as collateral," she spat out, getting carried away. "He thought his wife would never find out. He took $20,000 from Chase Bank and another $15,000 from Wells Fargo. He spent it all on me." The room was silent. Even Naomi hadn't known about that. Loretta Harris, who had been trying to stay inconspicuous, rushed toward him. "Darren, son, what is this woman saying? What loans? What inheritance of Naomi's?" "Mom, now is not the time," Darren mumbled. "Not the time. I mortgaged my mansion to give you money for the lawyer. And now what? How am I going to pay another blow?" Even his mother was now in debt because of his scheme. Wait. One of the guests intervened. "Did I understand correctly? The 3 of you plan to deceive Naomi?" "No, 3. 4. Tasha injected venomously. "The lawyer, Hayes, too. He was going to make her sign the waiver to the condo." Everyone turned to the corner where Hayes had been sitting, but his chair was empty. The lawyer had already bolted. "Snake!" Loretta Harris shrieked, lunging at Tasha. "This is all your fault. You drove my son crazy." "My fault?" Tasha retorted indignantly. "It was your son who groomed me. He told me his wife was a fool, that he'd manipulate her easily. Men separated them just as a fight almost broke out." "What a disgrace," a woman said loudly. "Mr. Washington, doesn't Naomi work for you?" "Yes, and she is the best controller I've had in 15 years. The CEO said firmly. "After this circus, the only thing I'm going to do is raise her salary, and this guy," he looked at Darren with contempt, "should look for another job. With this reputation, he won't get far." Darren went back and forth between his mother, his mistress, and the indignant guests trying to fix something. "People, you don't understand," he yelled. "I have the right to be happy. 25 years is too much." An older woman approached him. Aunt Clarice, Naomi's aunt. "And did you think about how she felt living 25 years with an egoist like you?" Aunt Clarice is right. Other family members of Naomi supported her. "What a disgrace. People like you don't belong in our family." "Good thing Naomi found out in time," added her cousin Dwayne. "Otherwise, you would have kept fooling her whole life." "Hey, what if we upload this to social media?" one of the young guests said. "Let everyone know who this guy Price is." "Yes," others agreed. "We have to trend the hashtag #SilverAnniversaryTrader. No, wait. Darren begged. "Don't do it. This is my private life." "Private?" Tasha laughed. You humiliated your wife in front of 100 people. And now you care about privacy? Slowly the guests began to leave. First Naomi's family, then her co-workers, and then their acquaintances. As they left, each one gave their opinion. Marcus Harris, a colleague said on his way out, "After tonight, don't even say you know me." "What a shame for the family," a neighbor muttered. "And now, how is he going to face people?" "You're trash," one of the men said bluntly as he passed. "You exposed your wife like she was a joke in front of everyone." Half an hour later, only the protagonists of the drama remained in the ballroom. Darren, Celeste, Tasha, and a few waiters watching curiously. "Now what?" Tasha asked, fixing her disheveled hair. "Do you have any money at all, Dee?" "Where from?" he complained. "I spent it all on the party and your gifts and the loans. Who's going to pay them?" "I don't know. Maybe I'll sell the car." "The car?" Tasha laughed bitterly. "Are you crazy? That won't even cover the debt. And what about me? I left my ex for you." "I don't know," Darren repeated. "I don't know what to do." Loretta Harris sat with her face in her hands. "And what am I going to tell Hayes? He charges for every consultation, and I even put my house up as collateral." "Mom," Darren said, approaching her, "we'll find a solution." "A solution?" She lifted her face, her eyes red. "I'm in my 70s. I'm left homeless because of your foolishness." Then Tasha stood up, adjusted her purse, and said, "You know what? I'm leaving. You two are utterly useless. Dee, don't ever call me again. And the money you owe me for the last 3 months? Forget it. Consider it a payment for this life lesson." She paused at the door and turned. "Your wife is one badass woman. It's a shame I only met the real her today. Those are the women who deserve respect." She left, the sound of her heels echoing sharply. Darren and his mother were left alone in the ballroom amidst half-eaten plates and spilled glasses. "Darren," Celeste said softly, "what if it's not too late? What if we go see Naomi and ask for forgiveness?" Darren shook his head. "It's too late, Mom. You saw her face. She will never forgive us." "Then what are we going to do?" "I don't know," he repeated for the third time. "I swear I don't know." Meanwhile, Naomi was in a taxi back to the condo watching the city lights. In her purse, she carried the titles to 3 properties and a bank statement showing over $1 million. The driver, an older man, looked at her in the rearview mirror. "Beautiful night, isn't it?" "Yes," Naomi said, smiling. "Very beautiful. You could say it changed my life." "That's good. Some days just change everything." "That's exactly right," she replied. Everything changed. And indeed her life changed forever. 3 months later, Naomi was in court, watching the life of the man she had been married to for 25 years fall apart. Darren looked 10 years older. Gray hair, a worn face, a cheap suit instead of his usual expensive ones. The judge, an elderly woman with glasses, reviewed the documents carefully. "Very well," she said finally. "The court decides the following. The condo on M Street in Atlanta is the separate premarital property of Mrs. Monica Harris, and is not subject to division." Darren panicked. His lawyer, no longer Hayes but a young public defender, just threw up his hands. "The cabin property is considered marital property, and is divided in half. The same goes for the Lexus ES 300 car." "Your Honor," Darren's lawyer stood up, "my client used that car for work." "Denied," the judge replied dryly. "The car was purchased with common marital funds." Naomi said nothing. Her friend and lawyer Danielle Brooks smiled discreetly. Everything was going according to plan. Furthermore, the judge continued, it was proven that Mr. Marcus Harris concealed significant debts from his spouse. A $20,000 loan at Chase Bank, a $15,000 loan at Wells Fargo, and an $8,000 quick loan. The total debt is $43,000. "But those are his personal debts," the young lawyer protested. "According to Family Code Section 39, the judge replied calmly, debts incurred during the marriage are the responsibility of both parties. However, since the money was not used for family welfare but for the personal affairs of the petitioner, he shall be solely responsible for their repayment. Darren went even paler. $43,000 in debt, and it was all his. This court solemnly decides, the judge concluded, to dissolve the marriage between Marcus Harris and Monica Harris. The respondent retains the condo and all bank accounts. The petitioner retains half the cabin value and half the car's value. No alimony is assigned as there are no minor children. The gavel strike marked the end of a 25-year marriage. Leaving the courthouse, Naomi felt a strange peace, as if a great weight had finally been lifted. "Naomi!" Darren shouted. "Wait!" She turned. Her ex-husband stood on the steps, clutching a folder of documents. "What do you want to say?" "Forgive me," he said in a low voice. "I was a selfish fool. You didn't deserve what I did to you." Naomi looked at him closely. Was it sincere remorse? Or did he just want to make her feel bad? "Darren," she said calmly, "I don't hold a grudge. We're just very different people. You wanted an easy life at others' expense. I am used to fighting for what is mine. Could we see each other sometimes as friends?" "No," Naomi replied softly but firmly. "I'm sorry, but no. It's better if we each go our own way." She turned and walked toward her car, a new elegant Audi she had bought with part of the German inheritance. Life continued and everyone got what they deserved. A month after the divorce, Darren lost his job. The video of the anniversary party went viral on social media, and his company's CEO no longer wanted to deal with the scandal. "Marcus Harris," his boss told him on that last day, "I can't have someone on my team who made such a public spectacle. But I'm a good professional." "Maybe so, but your reputation is in the gutter." "I'm sorry." Finding a job was difficult. Everyone recognized him. The video even had the hashtag #SilverAnniversaryTrader trending. Nobody wanted to hire a man like that. He ended up working as a taxi driver with his old Toyota Camry, which he had to buy back from Naomi for half its value, $15,000. He now lived with his mother in her small house. Celeste ended up in a small one-bedroom apartment on the outskirts of the city. She'd had to sell her downtown mansion to settle her debts and purchase something smaller and more affordable. "Don't you wish you had listened to me?" she'd say to Darren at night, gazing at the cracked walls. "Wish you'd never gotten involved with Tasha in the first place?" "It's too late, Mom," Darren would reply, tallying up his earnings for the day. Too late for regrets. Tasha, on the other hand, was doing just fine, maybe even better. A mere 2 months after the scandal broke, she married a 50-year-old entrepreneur who owned a restaurant chain. He was wealthy, if not particularly bright, and he bought her story about a toxic relationship with a married man hook, line, and sinker. The wedding photo Tasha posted on social media showed off extravagant bouquets and shimmering gold jewelry. The caption read, "Finally found true love. #happy #new life." Darren saw those photos and couldn't help but let out a bitter smile. Tasha got what she wanted. A husband with deep pockets. But it wasn't him. Naomi's life took a completely different turn. She moved into her Aunt Josephine's investment condo in Miami Gardens. It was a spacious, light-filled space with an ocean view. A real oasis of calm amidst the city's hustle and bustle. She no longer wanted to work as an accountant. With the money she'd inherited, she started a small publishing house specializing in translations of European literature. It was her lifelong dream come true. Monica Harris, Mr. Washington had said when she resigned, "We really don't want you to leave. Are you absolutely sure you won't reconsider?" "Thank you," she replied with a smile. "But I've found my true passion. I'm going to dedicate myself to books." "Well, I wish you the best of luck. And you know what? After everything that happened with your ex-husband, a lot of the women who work here really look up to you. A woman has to know how to stand up for herself." One evening, her friend Danielle Brooks came to visit. "You look so content," she said, taking in the cozy living room. "Do you feel vindicated?" "You know," Naomi replied thoughtfully, "I don't feel vengeance. I feel relief. What I did wasn't about revenge. I was just defending my rights. The truth always comes out eventually. They sat on the balcony, sipping tea and watching the lights of Miami twinkle. Do you regret those 25 years? No, Naomi said, shaking her head. Those 25 years taught me something invaluable. To rely only on myself and to value honesty above all else. Her publishing house employed 5 people, all talented young translators. They published beautifully designed books in small print runs for people who truly appreciated good literature. Naomi, her editor Anna, said one day, "Your story is really special. My mom told me she was at your anniversary party. She works with your ex-boss. She says there aren't many women like you." "I don't think of myself as a strong woman," Naomi replied. "I just decided I wasn't going to be a victim." A year later, she received a letter from Darren. "Naomi, I don't know if you'll even read this. I just wanted to say that I understand. You were the best thing that ever happened to me. I lost you because I was foolish and greedy. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I know I don't deserve it. I just want you to know that you deserve the best in the world. Be happy, Darren." Naomi read the letter and filed it away in a drawer. There was no anger, no sadness, just a memory of a life she'd once lived. That night, she went out onto the terrace with a cup of coffee. Miami glittered with lights, music drifted on the breeze, and the air smelled like summer flowers. She was free, financially secure, and doing work she loved. And for the first time in years she felt truly happy. In another part of the city, Darren drove his old Toyota, ferrying passengers and thinking about how quickly everything can be taken away in a single night. Yes, the truth will always win out over lies, even if it sometimes takes a while. Did you enjoy my story? And where are you listening from? I'd love to connect with you in the comments. If you like the story, you can support me by sending a super thanks, which will help me keep bringing you more stories like this. Thank you so much for your wonderful support. I'm really looking forward to reading your comments about the story. On the screen now, you can see 2 other life stories that I highly recommend. There's so much more on my channel. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next life story. With love and respect. In the end, Monica rose from betrayal to triumph. Proof that no matter how dark the storm, a woman who knows her worth can rebuild her life, her pride, and her peace. And as she watched the Miami sunset, she whispered to herself, "Freedom never looked this beautiful."